The challenge was at the time when I began working on the score, and we were working on it with Mary as well. We didn't know how it ends yet. The screenplay for the last episodes was not ready when the first episodes were shot, which meant that that we had to imagine a lot of things, where the story is going to lead us, and in creating this set of motifs and sounds, we had to cover all, the whole playing field. And it was clear that it has, yes, as you said, it has these two parallel narratives which have to be differentiated from each other. They have to be clear also just to the viewer. The viewer has to understand where we are at a certain point in the story. And also it's, it exists, the whole story is playing out in a non-existing reality, in a dystopian alternative version of modernity. You see it in every detail of what you see on screen, and we wanted to also have some kind of a element of that in the score. We wanted to create a soundscape, a musical landscape that's going to be, serving its purpose because it's an action series, but also distinguishable. Through some experiments, we found a balance between sounds that are more acoustic and sounds that are very synthetic and can shift from one to the other. But it was very intuitive work. The main challenge was that there is a lot of music in the series, and it had to happen quite quickly. We were working under a lot of time pressure, and with a partner that's challenging. Because it was the first series created in Poland for Netflix. So every decision was being made, every aesthetical and storytelling decision was being made somewhere between Warsaw, London, Berlin, and Los Angeles. So every little piece of music, every scene was traveling back and forth, and we were getting feedback from all possible directions. And you could clearly feel that there is a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. And I think we fulfilled these expectations. At some point, after 2 or 3 episodes of the intense back and forth, we knew where we are. Already the story kind of reached its final point. We knew where we are heading, and it became definitely much easier. It's a wild film, and it's a fairy tale. And at the same time, it's very contemporary. It's a film which, when it was in the making, Poland was undergoing a political shift, and most of us weren't realizing in which direction it's going to go. And Agnieszka, together with Olga Tokarczuk, who wrote the novel and the script, they knew, they understood something. They had a prescience, and it's a film that uses the cover of genre to tell a very contemporary story. And this cover allows you to go wild. I think I also reached a point in this film, while working on this film, that I needed to go wild. I needed to get out of a corset of elegant, predictable film scoring, which maybe at that point I was a bit too deep into, which means destroying the orchestra. It means introducing noise, introducing very violent, aggressive sounds, and looking for things that are very sensual. Some things that you really associate with, walking through the woods at night. It's a memorable score. It's a score that plays an important role in the film. It's very present, which is not usual for Agnieszka's films. But also it has this aspect which is hidden. There is a lot of very discreet underscoring in this film. And this underscoring is very much based on weird orchestral effects and noises. And they are very often intertwined with sound design, sometimes unrecognizable. So we had that. We had this wild, present, aggressive, driven action kind of score, and then we had this very sentimental motif, which represented a kind of an inner harmony within this little group of main characters. So these three aspects, they created a tension between each other, and we explored this tension, and we could quickly jump from something that was very hot into something that was very cold, and create contrast. And this is something that's actually very exciting when you're allowed to do that. It doesn't very often happen in storytelling, because usually film music is expected to smooth things out, and here it was a medium of contrast. We are working on a new Netflix project, which is actually very exciting. Another genre project, very dark and mysterious. And there is another one coming up, and another one. It looks as if people still need storytelling, and that makes me optimistic. I had an amazing experience last year of going to Venice, to the film festival, because a film with my score was part of the competition. And it was the only major film festival that happened with a live audience. It was in September, a moment, between the waves of the pandemic. And our film was shown as the first film in the competition. Everybody was very excited about it. And after the screening, we got a fantastic reception, a 10-minute long standing ovation. People were crying, were very emotional. And, obviously we took it as a good sign. And we were very proud of ourselves. After, I spoke to a friend of mine who was taking part in another film, I was showing the next day, and he comes to me very excited, and he says, I asked him how it went, and he says, amazing. We had a fantastic reception. Everybody was crying, 10 minutes standing ovation. And then I'm talking to the crew of another film 2 days later, and they say exactly the same thing. And at some point I realized, well, probably someone could be playing us the footage from like street camera for 2 hours, and we would still be clapping our hands and crying. People did love the films, but they were so excited about sitting in a cinema and watching a film on the screen that this experience, it made me really optimistic. I think there is something about cinema that's just irreplaceable, about spectacle in general. It's something that we cannot experience on our sofa. It has to be a group experience. And I'm sure that we will find a way of getting it back, whether it's going to be traditional movie theaters as we've known them, or maybe a new form will be created. It's very well possible. Humanity has adjusted to changing conditions and over centuries, and but this urge will prevail. This makes me optimistic.